Welcome in to After Nebrasketball Friday Night Edition, which is the best after Nebrasketball. It always is. More Friday night games for Nebraska basketball. Do we agree? Yes?
Yes.
Who says
yes.
no? Who says no? Nebraska 85, Indiana 68. Nebraska outscores Indiana by a score of 73-2 in the last 9 minutes of the game. It was an NCAA record. Unbelievable.
You weren't that far off. It's not that far off. 21-4.
And then
you weren't that far off.
This stat, which is not made up, but it sounds like it is. Nebraska has beaten Indiana, blue blood Indiana, 4 times in a row by a total, Kaleb, of 76 points. 76 points against Indiana. So, and tonight, there were moments where you got a little bit nervous. A couple of times you're like, yeah, they're not rebounding very well again, right? They maybe aren't playing defense. Some guys in foul trouble, they're going to be an issue. They're not making free throws. But in the end, they win the game really easily. Bryce Williams going for 30 points for Nebraska on a very efficient 10 for 15 field goal night. So there you go. That's what happened. You all know that, though. Let's hear what Kaleb Henry, who is in the building, has to say about the game tonight. Kaleb, take it away.
Yeah, you saw early on the quick 8 points you got from Bryce Williams. You had the team start out making the first 7 shots they took in the game, started out 8 for 9, and you got up early and you went, okay, this is a very different energy than it was in East Lansing. And that's obviously what you want when you got your butt kicked and embarrassed at Michigan State. Team comes out really good, both ends of the floor. Obviously, there were some things that got tight. Oh, my God, Seahusker. Oh, my God.
That wasn't even a super chat, but I put it up anyway. Sorry.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Things got tight, and you had the game was actually tied 64-64. Look at that final score, Jack. The game was tied at 64 with just under 10 minutes to go in the game. You had so many stretches where guys just hit shots and locked down defensively, even with the runs that Indiana was able to go on. What did we say this morning, and what have we said since the preseason? Bryce Williams has to get some killer instinct and start just taking over certain portions of the game. He did that in the first few minutes of the game, and you went, okay, do we have this? Is this what we're going to get for the rest of the night? And then he kind of picked his moments, and then, boom, here's a 3. Now he's going to just back someone down, ISO, get to the bucket, get to the free throw line. No, he didn't. He finishes 8 for 11 at the free throw line. But, like as a team, you're like, it was kind of a bad shooting night, 17 for 26 at the stripe.
Yeah.
And you started to wonder if that was going to doom them in the end until everyone hit everything over the last half of the second half. It was everything that you wanted this team to do in front of the crowd at Pinnacle Bank Arena. And now that winning streak is going to continue at home into 2025, because now that they're going to go to Hawaii next. So you're going to get into 2025 with that winning streak going back to February of 2023.
Yeah, it's been 600 some days since Nebraska has lost a conference game at Pinnacle Bank Arena. That February 28th game, 2023, against Michigan State. But yeah, biggest thing, my biggest takeaway is the same thing as you, Kaleb. Like we talked about it on Nebrasketball Brunch today. Bryce has to tick it up just a little bit more on aggressiveness, right? On aggressiveness, and it felt like he did that today. When Nebraska was struggling offensively, he seemed to kind of, and whether it was driving, whether it was shooting a 3, whether it was getting, have you ever seen someone make more shots that bounce around on the rim than Bryce Williams?
It's touch, baby.
Is that touch? Boing, boing, boing,
it's a soft, he's got a soft shot. It's not necessarily anything about the rims. There are certain times that you get into those multi-team events, those MTEs, and especially some of them where it's like it's a smaller gym. They have really soft rims, and you get a lot of good shooting. I don't think PBA has necessarily soft rims or they're not hard rims because it's not like the ball flies off of there. Other than that one Indiana dunk attempt,
Ah! That
when
dude was
the,
going for. He was like, "I'm going to defeat the butt alley oop in one dunk," and it did not happen.
There was murder in his eyes, and then he missed the shot. But so many times you see it with Bryce Williams. You tweeted it out during the game. You and I have talked about it. His shot is so soft, and there's so much touch that if he gets a decent look on one of those kind of back down, turn around about 10 feet away from the basket, if it just kisses the rim a little bit of backboard, and it rolls around that rim, most of the time it feels like it's going to go in.
I'll be interested to see what Bigelow says. I think this was Bryce Williams' best game at Nebraska. 10 for 15 field goals, 2 for 3 from 3, 8 for 11 on the free throw line, 6 defensive rebounds, 6 rebounds overall, 5 assists, had a steal, 2 turnovers. I don't know, 30 points. I thought it was this is getting closer. I still think he has a little further he can go, but I think just overall, I think this probably was his best game at Nebraska. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, what's amazing is first of all, yes, when you look at the level of opponent and what he was able to do scoring wise and everything that he did on the offensive side of the ball, those 5 assists, that's huge. When you add in that he had 30 points plus 5 assists, that's a really big deal. And then the level of opponent being a Big Ten game, we saw what he did scoring the basketball in the non-conference earlier this season to do this against Indiana. And I know now that's 4 in a row. Nebraska's won against the Hoosiers, but that's still a Big Ten game that you had to go out and do that. And what's weird to think about, and as you said, you think that he can do a little bit more. There were moments, and you can go throughout the game and go, in transition, could he have gotten a dribble and just one step by a guy and gotten into the lane again? Could he actually, were there at least 5 other times that he probably could have done that? Let's say he converts on 3 out of those 5. Well, all of a sudden he's at 36 points. Like when you start talking about where there's moments that he could have been more aggressive.
Yeah.
And we finally got some of that. Yeah.
He could have dunked on the red-headed Scott Frost guy that Indiana had on that one play, and he didn't, and he got it blocked. And but that's what you're talking about in those situations for sure.
Yeah, like those types of situations for sure.
Kaleb, let me give you some stats here on this. I remember during our show you were talking about Indiana's field goal percentage. Wow. Nebraska 61% field goals, 57% from 3. Indiana 35% field goals, 22% from 3. Now they took 35 threes, which is not really characteristic for what they do, but man, like you want to know why there's part of you that wants to say, well, that final score 85-68, it was closer than that looked. You look at the stats, Kaleb, like I don't know, I'm looking at the box score, kind of seems about right.
No, this isn't one. This is one where you look at it and you go, there were moments that it was close, that Indiana kept it close. The box score, the way you watch the end of the game play out, all of that says, no, it was about a 20-point game. That's really what ended up happening. It was about a 20-point game. We had said this morning, can Nebraska, how close to holding Indiana 20 percentage points below their season shooting percentage, because they were shooting just over 50%.
Yep.
Well, they got to 15%.
35.4, man.
Below their season percentage. You talked about the 3-point percentage. They were hitting a third of their threes on the season, right? And tonight they hit 22% of them. And shot probably more than what they were shooting in any of those games. Everything that they did defensively is what we said they needed to do this morning, and then shot lights out on the other end.
If you take Miles Rice out of it for Indiana, they shot like 10%. Like redhead Scott Frost went 3 for 10, and those were all threes. My Lord. I was like, where have I seen that guy before? It was driving me nuts. I finally Googled it. And number 1, he looked like Scott Frost or Jesse Plemons. Number 2, he played for Illinois last year. He transferred over. So, but Rice had 20 points, 8 for 13, Bigelow had he only had 8 points on 3 from 4, and nobody else could. I mean, Renew had 12 points. He was 3 for 6. They shut him down. That's their leading scorer. He was the leading scorer much of last year too.
And he got six of his points were at the free throw line.
Yes. And do you know what I think one of the biggest defensive differences was tonight? Berke. I think Berke being there made a huge. I think that guy. I mean, I think really the best part of his game, and he may not like to hear this, but it's his defense. I think.
Mm-hmm. Now, how's about this? Berke.
Oh, there's Jake.
Only played 20. He only played 20 minutes. Berke only played 20 minutes in this game.
Yep. Played 20 minutes.
Effective.
5, and he didn't have a huge offensive game, but I thought he had a really good defensive game when he was in there. Couple of turnovers. He had got some passes he had in the first half were driving me nuts, but had 5 rebounds. And you know what? I will say this, Kaleb, and I don't know what the total rebounds number was, but it felt like Nebraska still could have done better on the defensive boards in that game.
So it was the total rebounds was even 35 each, but Indiana got 15 on the offensive glass.
Yeah, that was too many. But it didn't matter because they couldn't make shots. Jacob Bigelow joins us right now from the Stretch Big podcast, Huskers Illustrated, fresh off the press conferences after the game. Jacob, welcome. 85-68 Nebraska over Indiana, 4th straight total aggregate score in those 4 games. Nebraska wins by 76 points. Your thoughts on the game tonight?
Yeah, that is Fred Hoiberg talked all week. Well, we only heard from him once, but he talked at length about the need to bounce back. And, when you're looking for a bounce back, looking at this roster, the 2 guys that probably jump out to you are the 2 6-year seniors, the guys that went to Big Ten Media Day, the guys that we heard from after this game tonight. And Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary combined for 44 points on 15 of 25 shooting. And they had 11 rebounds and 6 assists as a duo. That's pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. They did what they needed to do and then some. And it wasn't just those guys though. It was they got the bench contributions from Essien and Andrew Morgan, who back-to-back Big Ten games where he's been a bright spot off the bench. Not bad for a guy, who came from the Summit League. He's looked the part in 2 Big Ten games so far. And then, I wonder what the final score is if Miles Rice doesn't decide to go on a heater, because he was on a heater and no one else wanted to help him out. So
wow.
It kind of
really, yeah.
If Miles Rice doesn't catch fire in the second half, I don't know what the final score is. But Nebraska needed this and then some, and it's it's a marathon, long way to go. They still got 18 more conference games. They got a weird layoff before they go to Hawaii to play in a weird tournament. But after just how bleak it was, 6 days ago when you called it 2 of the most unenjoyable hours of your life, to bounce back the way that they did tonight was much needed, not just for the fans of the program, but for the people in it too.
I said, Jacob, and I didn't really do research. I just blurted it out. That's how I kind of do things. I said it was Bryce Williams' best game at Nebraska. You think so?
I think so. I definitely do. And I know I heard you guys talking about the assists. Fred Hoiberg, he said his favorite part of Bryce Williams' night was the rebounding. He said that he'd been struggling to rebound the ball well, and that was what stuck out to him the most. He said, I don't care about the points. What jumped out to me the most was the rebounds. And, at 6'7", with the length Bryce Williams has, you'd want that to be more of a part of his game than what it's been so far, this season. And I think it was definitely his best all-around game as a Husker. I mean, a very efficient 30, 15 shots, good at the free throw line, did all the Bryce Williams stuff. This is a guy who I think the first show we did, I said, this guy's an all Big Ten guy. And I've been trying to, drive the train and toot the horn that he's an all Big Ten guy. And I think plenty of people outside of Big Ten country and in Big Ten country learned a thing or two about Bryce Williams tonight with a 30-point performance in Friday Night Primetime on Big Fox.
And I think we all agree with you that he is. He's just got to, want to be the guy, right? You know what I mean? He's got to the alpha thing is so overused, but he did that more tonight than he usually does, I think, Jacob. So but that's, I agree with you in terms of the talent and the ability. Sometimes it feels like he's hindering himself. It didn't feel that way tonight, but you know what I said? You know what I mean?
Oh, no, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, he was assertive, I felt like, from the jump, and he was not afraid to put his head down, go downhill, try to get to the rim. I think he drew 7 fouls, if I remember right. He played fearlessly. I've half jokingly called him the Terminator for all of last season and this season, because sometimes it looks like he doesn't show emotion, but he'll go out and do something like he did tonight, and he'll gladly snap your neck, and that's what he did tonight. And he was as cool as he was pretty cool and calm while doing so.
Guys, with Nebraska winning by 17 in this game, so there were still things they had to, and we're getting the noise that we love from Pinnacle Bank Arena, not necessarily the horn. I'm not sure. Oh, is this the volleyball game? What do they got?
No,
Nebraska just won the first set, by the way.
Yeah, they reversed course. They're not showing. They're not showing volleyball, but it's the same. It's the same culprit as the noise in the past. A certain true freshman guard getting his post-game workout in. That's the reason the horn went off the last time we were here, and now he's got the Bluetooth hooked up so he can get his shots up.
Nick doesn't want to watch the volleyball game. Wow. Makes me wonder if his
canceled.
Still a Wisconsin fan. You worry about that. Volleyball watch. Nebraska wins the first set. They're going to sweep them anyway. Okay, guys. Here's the weird thing about this game too. There were issues still that were overcome. We mentioned the rebounding. Raleigh Worcester found himself in foul trouble. It feels like you always have a guy in foul trouble. It was Raleigh Worcester tonight. He didn't get it. And it felt like they needed him in there. And he was able to play a lot more minutes in the second half, but he had foul trouble as well. The rebounds were an issue. The turnovers were an issue in the first half. The free throw shooting was an issue. It's weird. They end up winning this game going away, but guys, there's still plenty. They've got a lot of room to improve on several things during this game.
Definitely, yeah. And then now they, like I mentioned earlier, they got the weird layoff before they go out to Hawaii. And I know, Bryce Williams and Juwan, said as much. They're like, yeah, it's a tournament where we feel like we should come out on top, but we're not gonna, overlook anybody. It's a tournament full of stronger mid majors. I don't think there's any there's no Bethune-Cookmans or stepovers in this tournament by any means. So it'll be interesting to see how they look. That's 3 games in 4 days once we get to that point. But you'd rather learn from a win than learn from a loss. And after the bounce back that they had, and I think they learned quite a bit about the word of the day for Fred Hoiberg is edge. And I not the edge that some people may be thinking of, but he's talking about this team and the edge that they need to keep to play like they did tonight. He thought they lost it against South Dakota. Thought they responded against North Florida, and then they just had none of it against Michigan State. And they had plenty of edge on both ends of the floor, aggressiveness on offense, going downhill, getting to the rim, and then they defended really well too. So that's going to have to be the constant. Is they're going to have to be the team that wants to be the aggressor, throw the first punch, and maintain what Fred Hoiberg will gladly talk about, the defensive edge.
I thought Fred was talking about the guitarist for U2, the edge, when he was talking about that, but I guess not. Kaleb, we haven't even mentioned Connor Essegian. I don't think. Maybe we did at the beginning of the pod, but we haven't yet.
Just a little bit. And now, go ahead.
I was just going to say he's lined 13 points, 2 for 3 from 3, 4 for 7 field goals, 3 for 4 free throws. Did have 3 rebounds during the game. What were your thoughts on how they used him tonight?
Frustrating early on because it was he wasn't getting touches on the offensive
He wasn't
end.
in until the 11-minute point, I don't think. Yeah,
that's the part. He wasn't part of the first sub off the bench. That was Andrew Morgan. Obviously, they get the bigs rotated, in there. But once he did come in, he wasn't really getting touches, and it was, oh no, are we getting this again? Where Essegian's just not going to get touches, and then he's not going to score, and you're going to have to figure out what else you get elsewhere. Now, yeah, he ends up with 13. It's not a 20-point game, but he was effective with the shots that he got, especially from deep, and he got a sliver of space, hit his first three that he got. The one that he missed was still a good look. The second three that he hit, Juwan Gary does like a snap dribble and throws him the ball, and it is a split second. It is a quick shot for Essegian, and it's like, okay, good. He only takes 3 threes in the game. He hits 2 of them, but you found a way to get him the basketball in space where he could hit a shot. He drove to the basket a little bit more, and like he was hunting, trying to get the shot, find a way to put the ball in the basket. We're going to have to see, how does he find a way to get himself open? How does Fred Hoiberg scheme him open? How do his teammates get him the ball going forward? Because what happened in East Lansing, that was obviously frustrating for him. But teams now know you can take Connor Essegian out of the game. Indiana did that for a little bit, but then they started to realize, okay, he's hit a couple shots and Bryce Williams is absolutely gashing us, and everyone else is making baskets to the tune of 60% shooting. So when everyone else is hitting shots, that freed him up a little bit too. So it was a nice bounce back for him.
Jacob, I'm curious what you think, because I noticed against Michigan State they had somebody just on him the entire. I think it was Holloman on him the entire game. I have a comment on the Discord from Jordan. He said they are holding the bleep out of him the whole bleeping game. It's another one of these deals where like he can score, but sometimes even with Casey, I felt this last year, like they don't pass him open a ton. And he did, like, one of them was super deep, those threes that he hit. But how do you think he didn't come into like 11, 12 minute ish point of the game? I'm curious what you thought about how he was used tonight, and really ultimately how he'll be used throughout the remainder of the year.
Yeah, I was wondering why it kind of took them as long as it did to get him into the game. I figured this would be a game where he would have a little, extra juice, being an Indiana kid going up against IU.
Yeah.
After he took a visit there in the portal and he wound up playing for Nebraska. Checked in at the same time as fellow Fort Wayne, Indiana native, as you called him, redhead Scott Frost, Luke Goody. They're both Fort Wayne guys, but they. I was, a little head scratched. Like, why don't we, try to draw something up, try to free him up, Fred? Like, what do we like? I say we, but like, I was expecting them to, early in the year we saw them kind of drawing stuff up for him, like they did for CJ Wilcher, like out of timeouts, like baseline out of bounds plays, like things like that. And haven't seen as much as that recently, but it's coincided with him being on a heater and really emerging as your second, could be your number one guy, could be your number two guy, could be your third option. I mean, he's shown what he's capable of these last couple games, and I think that's just what comes with rising up the scouting report. I don't think he was near the top at the start of the year, but when you catch a little fire and you're a part of what is still a weird team from top to bottom. They're winning games, but they're still a weird team. And when you show consistency, in scoring, you're going to rise up that scouting report. And that just plays into the Keisei Tominaga comps, because now teams are playing super physical with him off the ball, away from it. They're trying to deny him, and it's going to, I'm sure, be a talking point. That just is another notch in the comparisons between the two.
Well, Biggs, you anticipated my next question. And I wonder what you think. Like, obviously they're not the same player, but I understand the comparisons for a variety of reasons right now, including the way that opposing teams are defending them. What's Essegian do differently, better, or worse than Keisei Tominaga in terms of how they have and can use him going forward?
It's actually that's a really good question, Jack. They both have lightning quick releases. They both, you kind of just need a. I mean, I'm waiting for the game where there were multiple points last year. I was sitting up here just like, can someone set a screen away for Keisei Tominaga, please?
That's what I just referred to, passing him open.
Can someone screen for this man?
Yes. Why doesn't it happen with either of them?
Yes.
I can't believe I'm complaining after this game, but I do. I found myself wondering that exactly what you're saying for Casey and again for Asian this year too. It feels like other teams do that and Nebraska's offense doesn't.
Yeah, and it's definitely that's something that I wondered about last year. I've kind of wondered about it to start the year this year, but I think he. I mean, it's kind of just eerily similar looking at the two of them. I mean, when what they can do from three, but when they, go to the rim or they, cut back door, just like you raise your eyebrow, like, okay, like I didn't know they had that in them. I mean, the similarities, the list is pretty long actually.
Yeah.
But I think, I think the biggest thing right now, when we saw it in some bye games, but I mean, I don't think they need Connor Esiason to like be on a heater to win. Like if he is on one, then it's kind of an added bonus. I think. Yeah. Like I think the blueprint for success for this team. If Connor Esiason, what did he have tonight? 13, right? 13 off the bench. 13.
13. Yep. It was 2 for 3. He took 3. He only took 3 threes.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I think like 13, like 10 to 13, like that's kind of like the perfect spot for him. And I'm not saying Bryce Williams is going to get you 30 every night, but you don't need Connor Esiason to be your alpha dog, I don't think. And there were points in the last 2 seasons, both late in the the year with Greasel and those guys, where it's like Casey's got to be on one, or they're not going to win this game. And it's just like I don't think there's going to be any. I think if Connor Esiason is on one, I think it's an added bonus for this group.
Yeah, Kaleb, we were talking about like who's the second scorer, who's the third scorer on this team tonight, and it felt like there was plenty of offense, right? Like it felt like there was more than enough offense in this game to go around, and to wit to the things that we were talking about. Even Juwan Gary ends up with 14. And I felt like I was complaining about his game most of the game. And I love Juwan. Like I think he is. I think he's like sometimes I feel like he is the best overall player on the team. But like he had 14, and there were times where I was like, man, what? Now it does help. He was 2 for 4 from 3. Both of the ones he made, all 4 of the shots. I was like, no, please, no, and he did make 2 of them. Anyway,
well, he's very much a player that it's only a good shot if it goes in for him. There are like especially from 3. There are other players that you're like, yep, that was a good shot. It just didn't go. That was a good look. For Juwan, anything outside of the paint feels like bad shot unless it went in, and I know that's got to be frustrating for him when he goes back and rewatches this and hears our comments, because he can shoot the 3 at an okay clip. He's obviously not shooting it bad. He made 50% of them that he took tonight, but I want him getting inside more because he does so well around the rim. Every now and then he takes an 8 to 10 footer and he hits really, really well there. But his game is not being the number 1 scorer, the number 2 scorer. It's nice when you can get that from him. But you start to look down the list, and is he the number 2 scorer? Does it need to be Connor? You saw Andrew Morgan get to double figures. I honestly thought there were more times that Morgan should have gotten the ball in the paint, and they didn't get it to him. It was frustrating up here because sometimes you got switches on screens, and Morgan, Berke even had some inside, Mia, all 3 of those guys on these screens that do get set, get a much smaller guy, get a guard or a smaller forward on them, and they're not getting them the ball inside. Morgan did really good with his footwork multiple times inside tonight, and I kept thinking, you can get into a rhythm of getting that ball to him in a way that just this team doesn't, and they don't operate that way.
Yeah, if Morgan gets a mismatch, he goes in on it, though. Like I know what you're saying, but he's been what did he end up tonight? Morgan 4 for 5, 10 points, 2 for 4 free throws.
Yeah,
ended up with 5 rebounds too. So that was
and they could have done it more.
By the way, could you guys tell in the building that Sam Hoiberg almost got in a fight during one of the timeouts?
No.
Wait,
you
what? Didn't see that?
No.
They replayed it.
No.
I don't know what happened, and maybe the chat on Discord can help me out. I saw the replay, and we had 2 TVs on. I was watching the Texas A&M Wisconsin volleyball game, but there was a timeout where Texas A&M looked like they kind of walked through the Nebraska huddle, and of all the team, Hoiberg had words with Texas A&M. Sam Hoiberg.
Hell yeah.
Indiana.
Yes.
Indiana, not Texas A&M.
Nobody had the game. Everybody in the chat is telling me they didn't notice it.
No.
They showed it. They went back and showed it on the broadcast.
Yeah, there were multiple stretches where you felt like bad blood between the teams, where things got a little bit chippy. Yeah, there were multiple times. Well, you had one of the times. Who was it? I can't even remember who it was for Indiana. Thought he got pushed and then laid down for the last 10 seconds of a possession.
I saw that. The big guy. Yes,
yeah,
Bigelow. Bigelow did that.
Yeah. So they wanted to complain about that, and then you started to see like both sides got a little bit chippier with it. So I like when games get a little bit. It's like, oh, there is some blood on the line for this, and if a guy is going to walk through the huddle, hell yeah, Sam Hoiberg, stand up.
We gotta find that. Show you guys.
Yeah, I want that, and that's something that I remember talking with JP about the football team. I want some guys who are going to be assholes, like
100%.
Who are going to be like, no,
100%.
you don't get to do that. You don't get to come in and do that.
I just didn't think it would be Sam Hoiberg is the thing, right? Like
I did. Okay,
actually, if I ranked the entire
and,
team, he would have been last in that ranking. To be honest.
Is he last only because Gavin Griffith hit us?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Gavin.
Because Gavin Griffith hit us on. No. He hit us with drop a beat on one of the features that they played here because they had them wrap the Christmas book. They went through and had a beat play and had the players rap out the story.
Really?
But all Gavin Griffiths did was just looked at the camera and goes, drop a beat.
Jordan says, must have been at the game. He says that was the dumbest shit ever. Okay. DW says, great. Watch Hoiberg off the ball, Jack. He's no saint. Okay. I mean, maybe defensively, I get it, but I'm still telling you, if I'm ranking players to get in a fight during a game, Hoiberg is in the lower 1/3 of the team, to be honest.
Is it bad I'm the opposite, though.
Oh, really?
I'm
really
the opposite.
Bigelow.
No, I know Sam's like, it's all the coaching cliches. Oh, look, he's the scrappy, sneaky, athletic. He's the coach on the floor. But
stop it.
No, but he's got. But like, he'd be not like in the bottom tier. Like, I don't think so. Like,
all right, maybe I'm wrong.
No,
look at. He went to Pius. I'm giving him credit. Maybe not. Maybe
no.
Maybe I had a bad. Maybe he's. I've been sold a bill of good on Sam Hoiberg. I don't know.
No, yeah. You know what? Now the more you bring it up, it makes me seem like, oh yeah, Pius kid wants to fight. The parochial kid wants to fight. I get it now. I get it.
I don't
Bear
know.
K's number one though, right? That's the one who is going to fight.
Yes,
Bear K,
without question.
Morgan is definitely going to fight. Bear K, Morgan, Jawan are all fighting, right? First of all, those three are 100% still ahead of Sam. At least those three for sure.
Raleigh.
Right? Yeah.
No, I mean if there's a Big Ten basketball version of like the Anchorman news team brawl, like Nebraska's representation is Berke, Jawan, and Morgan. Like obviously,
okay, you get
maybe maybe Jawan looks over and says, "Sam, where did you get a hand grenade?" I don't know, but that's the representation.
Wait, do we all agree if you're picking a team of 5 fighters from the team, you're picking Berke, Morgan, and Jawan, and do you agree on that? And then second question, who are your next two?
Cale Jacobson.
Stop. Listen, the Ashland streets aren't that hard. I've been to Ashland. They have a Bretto pizza. They have some nice breweries and some nice shops. No, not Ashland.
Hey, public school kids can fight too, okay? Public school kids can fight. Come on.
No. I'm not going with
Okay.
him. No. No offense,
You're
Ken.
not
I mean, he looks
riding with
big.
Kale.
He looks like he's been lifting. Like, good job. I don't think I'm going with Raleigh. I don't know, Euless. I mean, Mia's big, but I don't know about the attitude situation.
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, just as a
Yeah.
complete aside, I know we need to talk about who you would fight with, but they have absolutely got to quit giving Mia the ball at the top of the key, you guys. I can't do this all season. I don't care if they go to the Final Four. I don't even think I'll be happy if Mia has 87 turnovers at the top of the key. I'll be so mad.
So it's for him, it's not, to me, it's not about where he has the ball. It's about he should not be allowed to dribble. Catch it wherever you want, but someone has to come get the ball from you.
Not only get it, but like, I mean, a direct, I need to make sure everyone's hands, both of you have 2 hands on the ball. I want 4 total hands on the ball, and then the transfer like that. No bouncing it, right? No throwing it, none of that. I want 4 hands on the ball every single time. So, yeah. All right. Well, you can tell us on the chat who you think number 4 and 5 on the fighting team. You know, nobody thinks it's Bryce. Nobody thinks it's Bryce. Not one person has even mentioned Bryce, which is funny.
No.
No. That's a good question. Decision, probably not. You know, maybe I would take Cale Jacobson the more. I'm starting to get talked into that for this whole thing.
You know what?
Okay.
I think even though he's out for the year, I think you got to call up Rink Mast.
He's Dutch.
You got to pull Rink in from the bench.
The Dutch don't F around. That's true.
My mind is in so many different places. Like this hypothetical situation, like I didn't know kids were still getting shots up to Eminem in 2024. Like this song came out 14 years ago.
What song came out?
This song came out.
Are we going to get DMR'd because this dude is playing music? Come on, Nick.
We might.
Probably.
This song came out when I was 13.
All right,
what are we doing? Like my brain is all over the place.
All right, stop that. I'll focus you. I got a question for you. What happens with this Indiana team? What's the end of the story? I mean, there's a 98% chance Mike Woodson gets fired, correct? Yes.
That's definitely what it seems like.
Okay.
I mean, there were definitely some rumblings toward the end of last year that there were people in positions of power in Bloomington that wanted him fired after last season, and now
no crap, I did.
And then they went out and spent a bunch of money on a really talented team, and if you watch,
they did. Where was it tonight?
Let me finish the point, Jack. Let me finish the point.
Did they not make the trip?
They look like a bad AAU team because you know what a bad AAU team has? Bad coaching. And you can tell that they've got dudes who should be good, like Miles Rice and like Bigelow, but the coaching aspect of that leaves a lot to be desired. And a lot of people were way too high on them before the season. They got picked second in the Big Ten. And I was like, I think this team's more likely to end in like blow up in your face than near the top of the Big Ten. And that definitely is, what it looked like tonight for sure.
It felt kind of like the same team to me, despite the fact that you say Ballow's big, but and he actually had almost led them in minutes in this game, but Renew is the same guy he was before, right? They brought Leal in for a couple of minutes in that game.
I mean, the biggest thing about them that feels
Miles
the same.
Rice.
The biggest thing about them that feels the same is the fact that they're Indiana basketball and they don't have guys who can shoot threes. Like they matched their season high in makes from 3 tonight with 8. And they took 35.
Right.
Like when you think Indiana basketball, you think like dudes getting shots up on the side of a bar.
Yeah.
You should be able to, throw a basketball 10 feet, and some kid who, grew up idolizing Jimmy Chitwood should be like, I want to be a Hoosier.
Well,
and they don't have guys who can take and make threes.
That's Ginger Scott Frost, who they got from Illinois, but is an Indiana kid. And he took like 87 threes tonight. Did you guys see his numbers? 80. It's an NCAA record, 87. No,
yes.
He's 3 for 10. 3 for 10 tonight. That number 9 Carlisle guy came on. Has he made a 3 in his life? He was 0 for 5.
He was bad. He was bad tonight. He was bad.
Yikes!
He was very
not good.
And, yeah,
not
bad,
those
bad,
were there.
not good.
And then Tucker 8 was 1 for 5. That's it. Between those three guys, that's freaking 23s. 23s.
That's 20 of their 35. They took 35, and 20 came from
Yikes.
3 guys. I mean, that's
Galloway had the rest. And did you guys notice Galloway kind of got hardened this year? Got a headband. He looked a little less like he came straight out.
I mean, he showed up to Big Ten Media Days dressed like a mafia don, but then I have Tate Frazier on my podcast before the season, and he said, I don't know if there's anyone in the country who has a better looking shot that never goes in than Trey Galloway. If you had to design an Indiana basketball player in a lab, he would look like Trey Galloway, and that.
Yes, you're right. No, you're right, Jacob. But Trey Galloway. 2023, 2024, when he had no headband and didn't have any facial hair, looked like a nice Indiana boy who could have played for Bob Knight in 1983.
A nice kid.
But things change. That dude got a headband and he got a little facial hair, and you can see what it did to him, right? Now everything's changed with him.
Something like that. I mean, this is a Nebraska show, but I could talk forever about the weird state of both the Big Ten schools and in the state of Indiana, where Purdue goes to the Final Four last year. So Indiana says we need to spend a ton of money because we need to be good, because Purdue went to the Final Four, and that's been our joke with them forever. Is we have these banners and you've never been to the Final Four, and their team looks like this. Then there's the whole football thing. We don't need to talk about that. We don't need to talk about that.
We got revenge. It's even now. It's even. We own you in basketball more than you own us in football at this point. And just to repeat it again, if you're just joining us, and welcome to After Nebrasketball, Nebraska has beaten Indiana 4 times in a row by an aggregate total, guys, of 76 points. Now, there's probably a team who's beaten Indiana more than 4 times in a row, but in that group, do you think you can find anyone who's beaten them, honestly, by 76 points in 4 games? Is this the most dominant stretch of any single team against the blue blood elite Indiana basketball that we've just seen? Probably.
You know what we haven't done yet? We have not played everyone's favorite game.
Yes.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Kalkbrenner!
Yeah. Who is it today, Kaleb?
As a matter of fact,
I don't know why I'm singing this.
There was one player. So Anthony Leal does not get a shot up in 10 minutes. Everyone else managed to find a way to take more than one shot in the game. So what we have learned is Kalkbrenner could not play for the Indiana Hoosiers. And that's Who's That Kalkbrenner?
Hey! No one had exactly one field goal for Indiana. It's disappointing.
Well, there were multiple people who had one field goal, but they didn't take just the one shot.
Or just the one field goal. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
One attempt, yeah.
When you say people forget, it's true. People do forget. Kalkbrenner, only one made field goal. So there you go. Excuse me, guys.
Can we also talk about real quick that that the new promotion "Brickin' for Chicken" sounds inappropriate?
Pause.
I don't think they should be doing that.
Is this they missed 2 free throws in a row and you get what, like a chicken sandwich?
Chick-fil-A. Yep. They had the Chick-fil-A cows falling from the ceiling like they do at Devaney, and they're all Chick-fil-A.
Brickin' for Chicken.
And I believe they did not get that tonight.
It's not appropriate.
Indiana, they had one situation where
they did
missed
not
the front end. Yeah. And Nebraska 17 for 26 at the free throw line. Hope they're shooting some free throws with the M&M playing.
Sorry to everyone who is bricked up for the chicked up. Yeah.
All right. All right, we need to wrap this up. Let's do that. You guys probably want to get home. Jacob, I have no idea. The interstate's closed.
I don't know where I'm going. I just know it's not Omaha. That's
Jacob's
all I know. I don't know where I'm going. I just know it's not Omaha. We got a second Eminem song from the same album that came out 14 years ago.
Jacob's
This also, I mean, I got stuff I need to figure out.
All right,
but,
well, yeah, there's a couch over here, Jacob. If you have an emergency,
Why are we listening to B.O.B. right now?
You got my like the Magic song or the Airplane song. What do we got?
No, this is still Eminem. This is Eminem and Rihanna. Like, I feel like I'm back in middle
Airplane
school.
song?
Yes, I feel like I'm back in middle
Airplanes
school
in the
again.
Oh yeah. It sounded like airplanes.
Okay. All right, that's it. Hey, just want to
Let's
remind
go home.
everybody, if you have our listen, we have 59 people watching us. Thank you for watching us. We're going to do this after most, maybe all of the games in 2025. So please
After too
join
many.
us. Yeah, like and subscribe, and we'll be doing this. Hopefully, lots of wins. These are the fun ones. I'm very crabby during the losses, but some people enjoy that. But anyway, we'll be doing that. Kaleb and I doing a Nebrasketball brunch show every Friday at 11 a.m. We did that today. We'll do it next Friday, Kaleb. What's going to happen to the confidence ratings? We'll see. It's going to be very interesting. Yep. And Jacob, what do you got going on right now? Anybody who wants to know what you got going on, follow you.
I haven't put out a podcast in like 2 weeks. So since I have nowhere to go, I'm probably going to just record one and see where that goes. So you can check that out on the Stretch Big Pod. You can follow me on Twitter at Jacob A. Bigelow. I'm on the other app too. I talk too much, as you can tell from this podcast. One of the few things I'm good at is yapping. So if you need me to yap either in text form or audio form, there are plenty of places to find it. But it is good to be back with y'all, and good to talk some basketball on a Friday night. Now I just got to decide where the hell I'm going to go, where the hell I'm going to sleep.
Yep.
Well, who knows?
And
Nobody knows. We're all going to find out together.
Nebraska's leaving to go to Hawaii. We will not have post-game shows after the Hawaii games. We'll see. We'll see, but not planned to have a post-game after Hawaii.
Late night sicko pods? Late night
Maybe.
post-game Hawaii
I was just going to say.
pods?
We'll see. We'll see.
Kind of music to my ears, to be honest.
All right. Nothing is guaranteed to not happen. We'll say that. But also, if you want to be a part of our Patreon community and be a part of live audience, like Alex and Stibbs, friend of the program, Josh Peterson's been in there tonight, and Jordan, thank you all for joining us tonight. Go to patreon.com/I80club, and Josh and I will be doing our show tomorrow morning. So it's Friday. Let's go. It's the weekend. Guys, thank you. I'm going to let you go. Appreciate it. Nebraska basketball gets a win. Nebraska volleyball just won set 2. That thing is over. Night-night, Dayton. Enjoy your trip back. We will see you next time on After Nebraska Ball on Husker Max and the I-80 Club. Bye-bye.